I am so happy that Aaron Wolfe is here tonight. Please give him a big round of applause. Aaron Wolfe.
A few years ago, I'm sitting at home on my couch in Brooklyn watching TV, and I get an email from my wife, Naomi. Naomi's in El Salvador, and she says, I'm okay, which is never a good sign. And then she says that the NGO that she's working with has undergone a series of attacks. There's been hijackings and carjackings and even an assassination. And so I snap into action. I go straight to my therapist. And I tell my therapist that I'm really scared, but I'm also kind of jealous. Naomi and I have been spending a lot of time apart lately. She lives this life of like adventure and danger and excitement, and I like watching the Yankees. And I'm starting to be afraid that I'm not exciting enough for her, and worse, I'm starting to fear that she's starting to feel that I'm not exciting enough for her. Which is why 6 months later, I'm on a boat headed towards a jungle volcanic island in Nicaragua with my wife, Naomi. 3 weeks we're gonna volunteer on a farm. Naomi gets adventure and excitement, and I get to prove to her that I can be dangerous and sexy. Because what my therapist told me is that a man without fear is a dangerous man. And a dangerous man can be a sexy man. And I'm not sure why my therapist is like a samurai love guru, but he is, and I was listening. So the first couple of days on the farm don't go great. We sleep in a tent, which is to say Naomi sleeps in a tent. I search a tent maniacally for mosquitoes all night long. And every night I stay up listening to these sounds. The jungle is incredibly loud, and the one sound I fixate on is the sound of these howler monkeys. And they just scream, and it echoes through the hills, and it's scary and eerie and kind of sexy. And I'm become obsessed with this idea that if I can just see a howler monkey, I don't know how this works exactly, but if I see one, I can kind of like take its essence and become dangerous and sexy. And so I really desperately want to see one. And a few days later, it's the day of New Year's Eve, and all of the volunteers on the farm have sort of gathered, and we're gonna make a big meal together, and we're chopping vegetables, and we're kind of bullshitting, and all of a sudden this strange thing happens. One of the guard dogs starts barking like crazy and takes off down a jungle path, which is not the strange thing. The strange thing is I take off after it. And I'm running through the jungle, just running as fast as I can, and the dog is running in front of me, and I have no idea what I'm gonna find. I'm kind of picturing a Sandinista rebel with an AK-47 or like an earnest hippie with high-grade weed. Either one would be terrifying to me. And I get to the dog, and the dog is in a clearing, and she's growling and spitting and going crazy, and she's staring up at this tree, because in this tree is a baby howler monkey. And I'm amazed, and I'm staring up at it, and then I realize that I'm surrounded by a family of howler monkeys. There's babies and adolescents and females, and then there's the alpha male. And I know he's the alpha male because he's got balls the size of my head. And I think, here it is, Aaron, you're about to become dangerous and sexy. And then I think, oop, I better get Naomi so she sees that I become dangerous and sexy. So I run back to the camp, and I say, everybody, you gotta come quick. And everybody comes back, and we stand there and we watch, and they're amazing. They're beautiful. They're putting on the show. They're hanging from their tails. They're grooming each other. They're feeding each other, and it's just wonderful. And then slowly, one by one, the volunteers head back to the kitchen to keep cooking. And I'm left alone with Naomi and the dog, who's now just quiet, just kind of chilling. And I'm not feeling dangerous and sexy yet, but there's also food to cook, so I say goodbye to them and I leave. And I get 4 steps down the path when I learn something. I learned that the howler monkey is the loudest land mammal on Earth. And I learned that because as soon as I'm out of sight, the alpha male decides he's gonna let Naomi know who's boss, and he starts going crazy. And it sounds, if you'll permit me, a little bit like this. Which I know coming from me sounds like I just did a Bikram yoga class, but from him in the jungle, it's terrifying. And I go running back, and there he is. He's on a low branch, and his teeth are huge, and he's screaming at Naomi. And I turn to Naomi to say, we gotta get out of here, but Naomi is gone. She is running down the path to the jungle, and I'm alone with the monkeys and the dog, and now the dog is barking, and the monkeys are barking, and I gotta get out of here, but I also gotta get the dog, because what if the dog attacks the monkey, or the monkey attacks the dog, or what if they both attack me? What if the monkey gets the taste of human flesh, or what if the monkey already has the taste of human flesh? I'm freaking out, and then the monkeys start throwing shit at me. Which is when I start begging the dog, please, just come with me. But she's a 120-pound Rottweiler. She's made of muscle and teeth, and she is not budging. And then that's when this spindly, hippie volunteer kid named Scott comes over, and he's like, hey, bro, we should probably get out of here. And I'm like, dude, I am wrestling a Rottweiler. You're not helping. And he's like, come on, baby. Not working. And then it starts to rain. And I say, Scott, it's raining. And Scott's like, it's not raining, dude. And I look up, and there's the alpha with his huge teeth and his bigger balls, and he's pissing directly on me. And I say, Scott, they're peeing on me. Which is apparently the phrase you have to say to a 150-pound hippie kid to get him to pick up a growling Rottweiler and run. Because that's what he does. He just scoops her up and runs. And I'm like, right, that's what I probably should have done. And then I run too. And it's over. As quickly as it started, it's over. The monkeys head back up to the volcano. I head to the shower. We get into bed that night, Naomi and I, and we feel kind of happy and kind of hopeful. And not because I was dangerous and sexy. I wasn't dangerous. It turns out howler monkeys, vegetarians, totally timid. That's why they're so loud. And I definitely wasn't sexy because I still smelled like monkey piss. But we were happy because we were on a farm on a volcanic island in the middle of Nicaragua, and we were finally doing it together. Thanks.
Aaron Wolfe. I think that's one of the best dangerous, sexy catchphrases I've ever heard. Scott, they're peeing on me. That could be like the summer catchphrase of the next big blockbuster. Another round of applause for Aaron. That was great.